Two. We got two games tonight. And of course, as I've mentioned, and I'm going to mention it again, my wife and I are going to a concert in Bellingham tonight for a band called Pack AD, which, if you haven't heard of them, nice little band out of Vancouver. Oddly enough, the Bellingham concert is as close to Vancouver as they get with this tour. And we saw them live in Vancouver, or not Vancouver, we saw them live actually here in Abbey last summer. And we said, okay, these guys are kind of cool. We went out, we bought all their CDs, listened to all their music on Spotify. They're pretty good. So I had no idea what was going to be happening that Friday night when I bought those tickets. And we're going. So when the reviews are a little late being pushed out, that's why. That being said, with Wi-Fi being different in Canada and the US, data, they charge you through the nose in Canada, and in the States, they really don't. You can get unlimited data. It's really weird. So if I can get my phone switched over to an American SIM card, you guys might get your reviews in a timelier manner, but you'd get them from my phone, which means they'll look completely different. First off, I want to talk about the Boston-Toronto game tonight, which is Game 5. And look at where the series is until now. Because these two series are very, very different. And it's funny because the momentum swings in the Toronto-Boston series have been extreme. Absolutely extreme. Now, the series is tied at 2. Freddie Anderson will be the starter, 917 save percentage. Tuukka Rask, 921. Definitely not the big goalie duel that we've been seeing in some of the other series in the NHL. But still, not bad. Toronto hasn't won a round since 2004 when they beat the Senators in 7. And as somebody who watched that era, Toronto beating the Senators was just kind of a given. And then they lost to Philadelphia in the second round that year. Now, there does seem to be a bit of a block, and no, it's not the Drake curse, although that is a lot of fun. For people who may not know, Drake was at the last Leafs game wearing a Leafs jersey. They lose the game, and so the Drake curse continues, and there was any amount of imagery shown yesterday on Tim and Sid regarding said curse and Drake's place in it and his knowingly being a curse. I don't know. It's got to suck for him. Like, do I go to the... Yeah, I guess I go. I don't know. I'm going to wear a jersey, and then they're going to lose. Tonight for Boston, Sean Kuraly returns. That means that I believe they're pulling Nordstrom out of the lineup. Now, last game when they were talking about Kuraly being close, I think they talked about it during Coach's Corner, and Don Cherry said, well, they're not going to put him in. He won't go in yet. Don, that shows me right there, Don has not followed the Bruins this year the way that I have. Sean Kuraly is a key guy in that bottom six, and Leaf fans are gonna hate he's a very hard worker, and he's good on the puck, he's good away from the puck, he's a good player, and so it strengthens Boston's lineup having him in there. That being said, look at the pattern. 4-1 for Toronto after game 1, and the whole narrative was Toronto's gonna wipe Boston out. Boston's old, they're slow, they're not going to make it. Boston win game 2, 4-1. Boston only won because they cheated. They're big meanie pants. They're horrible people. They were doing these terrible things. I think they punched my mother. I don't know. Just stuff being, as it is, like, so hockey fans being as hockey fans are will go to extremes. Game 3, Toronto wins 3-2. There you go. Boston's back to being old and slow. They can't play the game if it's a skill game. They're not able to play. They're just a bunch of thugs. And the funny thing is, the whole series I've been thinking, where did this idea that Boston's a thuggish team come from? Because to me, the Boston Bruins have been a very good skilled team all year. Having watched them all year, are they bigger than Toronto and more physical on most nights? Yep. Does that mean that they're brutes? No. I don't put Boston in that category. They're a pretty good finesse team. And in game 4, when they went at 6-4, a lot of that finesse shows up. But, again, the narrative changes with every game. So depending on which fan base you're in, it's either this is the greatest series ever or I hate hockey. There doesn't seem to be an in between right now as these two teams build up their dislike for one another. I don't know. I thought game 4 wasn't as chippy as a couple of the other games in the series. And I would expect that tonight Boston kind of locks that stuff down. They know what's on the line tonight, and I expect a solid game from them. I'm not saying I'm expecting a win because, again, in this series, look, Toronto, Boston, Toronto, Boston. So tonight, Toronto's supposed to win. That means Toronto wins in 7. I don't know. Series don't really work that way. It's not normally the way that happens, but we'll see. We'll see if the pattern continues tonight, and if it does, you're welcome, Toronto. Now, on the Calgary side of things, it's a little bit more muddy. Grubauer's got a .933 save percentage. Avs fans love him. Smith's got a .931 save percentage. He's facing about 50 shots a game over the last couple of games. And yet, when he allows a goal, it's, well, I think there are some in Flames, the Flames fandom that have grown accustomed to looking for fault when it comes to Mike Smith's goaltending. And so when he allows the goal, I think there's more scrutiny placed on goals allowed by Mike Smith than what we see when it comes to David Rittich. And I don't think we'll see Rittich in this series. Look, Smith has a .931 save percentage. This is the last game of the year, potentially, for Calgary. I can't see that they don't have Smith as a starter. He's not confirmed for tonight, but it has to be Smith. You can't go to Rittich. When you're down 3-1, you can't just go, all right, guys, we're just going to throw everything out the window. It might look like that's a good idea, but that can backfire badly. The first game of this series led us to the wrong conclusions. 4-0 was the score in favor of Calgary. The party's on. Here we go. Avalanche. They're going down. They're done. It's what happens when you name your team after snow going down a mountain. The problem was the Flames were extinguished by that snow going down the mountain in Game 2 with an overtime win by Colorado 3-2. And that really took the wind out of the sails of Calgary. Calgary wins that one in overtime, they're good. And just thinking back, I can think of any number of times where Calgary's been a victim of a play in overtime and that goal goes the other way. I don't have the numbers, but I don't think Calgary's overall overtime record is great in first round series. I know, as a Canuck fan, they were up 3-1 in '94. The Canucks won 3 games consecutively, all in overtime, and that's crazy. That was crazy. And this series has felt not the same, but the way that Calgary's just all of a sudden they're not able to impose their will feels like that. Game 3 in Denver, the Avalanche imposed their will. They won 6-2. And that's when I think the whole hockey world went, oh, wait, this could actually happen. Game 4, this is the biggest game I think the Avalanche have played in a very, very long time. And they win it 3-2 in overtime as well. And now we go into Game 5 tonight. They have a 3-1 series lead. If Game 5 goes to overtime, Colorado wins. And with Calgary, the trick is this. They can't play not to lose. And that happens in the playoffs. We saw that with Winnipeg last night. They have a lead, and then they kind of sit on it. And that's, okay, we're not going to assert ourselves any further, because if we make a mistake, that puck's going to go in, and then that thing's going to happen. So we're just going to hold them off. And that's, I always liken it to the prevent defense in football. If you want to see me yelling and screaming at a TV, have a team that I cheer for in football ahead by a couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and then see the defense back and way off about 10 yards, and hear the announcer going, it looks like they're just going to give them the short ones or down the middle there. They're just trying to kill the clock. Kill the clock by getting the ball back and killing the clock. Prevent defense prevents victories. And I think it was John Madden that said that. And there is some truth to that with hockey as well. When you see a team starting to sit back and they stop attacking and it's, all right, we'll just let you guys come into our zone. We're fine. It's fine. It's not fine. It very, very often blows up in the faces of the teams that are employing that tactic. So Calgary needs to come out tonight. They're at home, be sea of red, and just go out there and do what they do, and the rest could fall into place. I still think that man for man, if you look at each player on the roster, I think Calgary is a more talented team. Notice I said talented. I think that Colorado came into this series with something to prove. I think that we are on the verge of history here because people have, and it's easy. It's easy to go back to all the preview videos and go, Shannon's wrong in these. Yeah, yeah, and I'm wrong every year. But this year's special because we've never had a year where both number one seeds are gone in the first round. Not only that, but if Calgary loses tonight, both number one seeds won a grand total of one game. Nobody's predicting that. It's to the point where the NHL with the bracket challenge is actually saying, okay, so we're giving everybody a redo in round 2 if you'd like, because brackets are broken. And it's a very large portion of brackets that are broken. So they're having to just reevaluate. Okay, well, the number of people to pick Columbus to win the Stanley Cup, I think it's 0.43%, something like that. So yeah, these playoffs have been highly, highly, highly unpredictable. And tonight Colorado can put that final nail in, or Calgary survives to win another day, and then all they have to do is win Game 6 in Denver, and Game 7 is at home. That's where that home ice advantage matters, but you have to get to Game 7 for it to matter. And you have to win at home for it to matter, which again was a problem Winnipeg had. And for Calgary, they're 1-1 at home. They need to get to 2-1 at home. If they fall to 1-2, it's over. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this video. It's going to be a fun night. And I promise you guys will get your review videos as soon as I can get them up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.